Think officers only confront criminals? Wait until you see this video. From strange shadows to haunting sounds and encounters, no training could prepare them for.
No mames.
These are the moments that pushed them beyond fear. In a quiet Ohio village, locals reported movement inside a long-abandoned house. The place had been untouched for years, its story marked by the sudden loss of a family's only child. When cops reached and entered with flashlights, they were shocked. In one of the doors stood a small figure, motionless, staring back. They put a flashlight on its face to see it clearly, but it showed no movement. Locals later said the height and clothes matched the child who once lived there. The officers never returned to that property again. Rolling ball. A ghost hunting team had been exploring an abandoned building known for its hauntings. After finding nothing for hours, one investigator decided to try something different. She rolled a ball across the floor, and once it came to a stop, she asked aloud if any spirit listening could move it.
Can we roll one of those balls back?
Moments later, the still ball suddenly began rolling again, this time heading straight into a nearby room. It looked intentional, almost like whatever spirit lingered there wanted to lead them somewhere.
That's the one. That's the one.
People who watched the clip said it made them believe in ghosts for the first time, and honestly, I might throw my own ball away too. Sinister presence. Police in the Appalachian Mountains had responded to reports of strange noises echoing through the woods.
What the absolute fuck is that?
As their car stopped near a dense trail, a chilling screech tore through the night. Whatever made that sound didn't seem ordinary. The Appalachians, stretching nearly 2,000 miles across North America, had always been tied to cryptid legends, especially Bigfoot, or the wood booger as locals called him. So when those eerie howls carried through the forest, it wasn't surprising that some believed the creature still roamed those ancient mountains, guarding whatever territory he claimed as his own. In another clip, a police officer went to check a park at night after reports of a disturbance. He had barely stepped inside when a terrifying scream erupted from somewhere deep in the dark. The sound was sharp enough to send him scrambling back into his car without a second thought. Whatever made that noise clearly wasn't something he wanted to face alone, and maybe it was something even the police weren't equipped to stop. Strange presence. Sarah worked overnight security shifts with extra cleaning duties, and one of her regular stops was a senior living facility where, according to her, the activity never truly stopped.
Los ruidos y se siente.
The moment she walked into the laundry area, the atmosphere turned heavy, and strange tapping sounds echoed down the hallway.
Estoy sola, estoy sentada. ¿Escucharon?
She explained how many elderly residents had passed there and how relatives often lingered nearby, waiting for their loved ones to be taken away. Then at 2:22, the piano started playing on its own.
No mames. No hay nadie y lo estoy escuchando.
In a follow-up clip, strange sounds rose beneath the silence.
Se escucha como que gritara.
And her supply cart slid forward several inches without being touched, proof, she believed, that something from the facility's past was still present. Phantom cry. A security guard stationed at a closed airport reported hearing the faint sound of a child crying one night. Following the sound, he saw what looked like a little kid standing near the terminal windows. But as he approached, both the sound and the child vanished, like they were never there. The guards searched the area, confused and terrified, but found nothing. When the story spread, people linked it to paranormal activity. Some said it was a skinwalker mimicking a child to lure him in. White gown. That abandoned house in Michigan had been a magnet for ghost stories, so a group of paranormal investigators finally decided to check it out. The one recording was a retired cop, and just a few minutes in, the camera caught something none of them noticed. A woman in a white gown standing in the living room. Long black hair, no clear features, just staring at them. They left thinking the house was empty, but reviewing the footage later nearly stopped their hearts. Believing it might have been an intruder, they handed it to police, but officers found zero signs of anyone living inside, not even footprints. Rolling stretcher. A hospital security guard on a graveyard shift experienced the scare of his life. While doing his rounds and entering a narrow hallway, he saw a stretcher hurtling toward him, fast, like someone was pushing it. But the entire floor was empty and supposed to be closed for the night. The stretcher itself was completely empty. He stepped aside and kept filming as it rushed past him and disappeared around the corner without slowing down for even a second. Almost like whatever ghost was moving, it didn't care that it was being recorded. He didn't question it. He just got out of there.
¿A ustedes les parece que me puede pasar esto?
Shadow lurker. A police officer in Pennsylvania responded to reports of strange noises inside an abandoned building, and the moment he stepped in, the atmosphere felt wrong. His phone trembled as he recorded the narrow corridors. Then it caught something. A tall, solid shadow standing perfectly still, like it had been waiting for him. His heart pounded as he backed away, refusing to turn his back. He somehow made it out. When technicians checked the spot later, they found high electromagnetic readings, the kind you see near lightning strikes, not in an empty, decaying room. Invisible child. Out of all the bizarre videos online, this one definitely gave people chills. A CCTV camera recorded a security guard doing his nightly rounds near a row of shops when something strange happened. He suddenly gestured, calling someone over, but no one was there. Moments later, he bent down, talking as if giving directions to a child, yet the footage showed nothing beside him. He even pointed as someone who was giving directions would. After a brief exchange with the invisible presence, he casually walked away as if nothing had happened. When questioned later, the guard insisted he'd met a lost little girl asking for directions. But if that's true, then who or what was he really talking to? Cursed house. A small group was enjoying a quiet night in when things suddenly turned strange. Objects started moving without anyone touching them. Spooked, they called the police.
What?
The officers arrived and began their walkthrough, trying to keep things calm, until something fell off a shelf right in front of them, with no one nearby. Despite the eerie vibe, the cops found nothing unusual. No signs of forced entry, no intruders. Just a heavy, unshakable energy in the air. The group didn't feel safer after they left. Some now believe the house was cursed. Mysterious plane. On November 23, 2018, at Mexico City's airport, Francisco Hernandez was wrapping up his late shift when he heard doors slamming inside a parked aircraft. Thinking it was maintenance, he went in to check. The plane was empty, lights off, and every door secured. Still, something moved ahead. Through his flashlight beam, a shadow leaned out from behind a seat. It was tall, still. Watching that made Francisco freeze. The security team later confirmed no one was on board, but his camera audio captured faint metallic knocks even after he left the plane. Aviation staff avoid that hangar now, saying it never feels truly empty.
No mames.
Ghostly pursuit. This footage came from a deadly police chase in Brazil, but what really caught everyone's attention wasn't the crash. It was what appeared in the background. A shadowy figure darted across the street at impossible speed and passed straight through a police car. The officers didn't seem to notice, but netizens were stunned. Some believed it was the ghost of someone tied to the incident. Others thought it was something more. like a superhuman being chased by police. If so, what chance would they even have? Then again, some think the whole thing was staged. What do you believe? Shadow follower. A man looking out his apartment window recognized the security guard who worked there. But what unsettled him was something that seemed to be following close behind. It looked like a shadow, humanoid in shape, but too faint to reveal any real detail. The security guard, clearly sensing something, glanced over his shoulder, and in that instant, the smoky silhouette vanished. The person filming was convinced this was an evil spirit that had attached itself to the guard. Netizens, however, debated whether it was one of the infamous shadow people said to stalk humans for reasons no one truly understands. Headless encounter. A couple of residents living near the woods reported strange disturbances at night, so 2 officers were dispatched to investigate. At first, nothing seemed unusual until one of them noticed a figure in the distance. It looked like a person dressed in white, hiding in the shadows.
Hello?
Refusing to respond when called out. As the officer moved closer, the shape appeared more like a woman in white, her long hair covering her face. The visibility was low, but then came the chilling revelation. The officer exclaimed that the figure had no head. That single detail was enough to send both officers retreating, unwilling to step foot in those woods again.
Look at me shake. Hello?
Hey.
Twisted hand. This clip was captured by an officer patrolling an office building at night. He and his colleagues had heard and seen strange things in the hallways before, but that night, his camera picked up something far more chilling, a twisted hand curling around a corner as if signaling him. He rushed forward and rounded the corner immediately, but no one was there. It was a dead end, with nowhere for anyone to run or hide. The only explanation left was the one no officer ever wants to consider, that whatever made that gesture wasn't entirely human. Guard possession. A security guard had been recording himself after finishing his rounds when something terrifying happened. He suddenly started acting strange, almost like he wasn't himself anymore. His eyes rolled back, his body twitched and jerked, and he reached for the cross around his neck, pressing it against his forehead as if trying to fight something off. The whole moment looked disturbingly close to possession, and many who watched the clip agreed. The recording ended abruptly as he continued struggling against whatever force seemed to be overtaking him. Even the guards, it seemed, weren't safe from whatever haunted that place. Window face. The police had been responding to a call from a house when something unsettling ended up on their body cam. As the officers stood by the door asking about the situation, something appeared in the dark window beside them. It looked like a pale, haunted face pressed against the glass.
Hello.
Can you come out here and talk to us real quick?
With 2 hands framing it from the sides. The officers didn't notice anything at the time, but once the clip started circulating online, viewers pointed it out immediately. Many said it looked like a spirit watching the officers from inside the house.
Haley? How old are you?
7.5 years old.
I'm trying to ask you a question without...
Yesterday, my mom holded her hands over my mouth and I couldn't.
Oh, wow.
She said, "You're done breathing."
Something that didn't belong there, and definitely wasn't human. Church possession. Police rushed to a church after reports of a demonic possession, but what their body cams captured was far stranger than they expected. A man stood calmly near the altar, and when officers asked him to leave, he seemed ready to cooperate. Until he suddenly threw himself onto the floor. When asked how he got there, he said it was because of Jesus.
So how'd you end up here today?
Because I'm Jesus.
He then stood up, grabbed the cross from the altar, collapsed again, and began screaming. an inhuman sound, unlike anything the officers had ever heard. His behavior grew more violent until he was forcibly detained. Many who watched the footage believed it was true possession, terrifying everyone, but leaving them relieved that police managed to restrain him. Aisle Shadow. A security guard explained that staff at the grocery store had been seeing strange shadow figures for months, sightings no one could really explain. It happened so often that employees joked about the shopping shadows wandering the aisles. That night, the guard finally captured something on camera, a dark silhouette walking in the aisle behind him.
Miren, ya se movió. Oh!
There were no customers around, and no staff member matched the shape or height. If it wasn't a worker or a trick of the light, people wondered if this was one of the same shadows everyone had been talking about from the start, moving through the store like it belonged there.
Está caminando, de hecho está que no manches.
Crash Shadow. Shortly after a tragic traffic collision, an onlooker recorded the aftermath and seemed to capture something unexplained. Just before authorities arrived, a dark humanoid shadow moved behind the damaged car, slipping past at an unnaturally fast pace. Viewers later pointed out how the murky shape darted across the frame with impossible quickness. No one on scene reported seeing anyone there, and nothing matching that figure was found nearby. People began to speculate whether the shadow was some kind of spirit connected to the accident, a presence that appeared only for a moment before vanishing again. Mysterious car. An old police chase clip from 2008 resurfaced online and left everyone completely baffled. The footage showed a car drifting in the middle of an empty road at night, with officers right behind it. But mid-turn, the car suddenly vanished, only to reappear seconds later, speeding ahead as if nothing happened.
Of someone who stole a car and is trying to chase him down. The car thief takes a left turn and disappears through a fence.
Moments after that, it drove straight through a solid fence, which the dashcam captured clearly as the police cruiser stopped in disbelief. Some said it was a glitch, while others pointed out the chase happened on an old highway stretch that had been shut down after several mysterious crashes. Many believe this ghost car was one of those vehicles, still driving long after it should have stopped. Road Ghost. Reports of loud crying in a remote village in Peru led officers to start a patrol, but what their dashcam captured was deeply unsettling. In the distance stood a woman in a white gown, walking barefoot along the road.
Segundos después, los agentes observaron a una mujer de aspecto.
When the officers approached to help, she slowly turned toward them, and her appearance froze them in place. They claimed her skin looked pale and dried, and her eyes had no pupils at all. Terrified, the officers ran back to their vehicle. Some locals claimed she was La Llorona from Mexican folklore, while others insisted it was just someone in costume. But the eerie encounter remained a mystery no one could confidently explain. Time slip. During a late-night patrol in Pulau Ubin, Singapore, a police officer noticed movement near an old trail. He began recording, and through the dim light, a figure in what looked like medieval clothing walked across the path. It was walking slowly, and the camera could capture just a glimpse of it, but enough to make him leave that area. The officer later confirmed there were no reenactments or costumes in that area. The footage left him and his department guessing how something dressed centuries out of time could appear in the middle of a modern island. What do you guys think it was? Comment below. Vanishing Girl. A late-night delivery driver in Dublin was passing a playground when he noticed something unsettling. He initially left out of fear, but returned after thinking he had seen a ghostly-looking little girl sitting on one of the swings. When he walked back in with his flashlight, the girl had completely vanished, leaving the swing moving as if someone had just slipped off it seconds earlier. There were no hiding places or nearby houses. To this day, no one knows whether he encountered something paranormal or some kind of supernatural entity making a brief, eerie appearance before disappearing again. Gray Lady.
Oh.
someone in there.
2 night security guards were patrolling an old abandoned building in Denver that had lived many lives. A school in the 1970s, then a residence for sisters called Seton House, later a homeless shelter before sitting vacant for decades. During one of their rounds, the guards recorded something chilling. As one stepped into an open area, a woman in a long black dress stood motionless ahead of him. She cast no shadow, and her skin appeared pale gray with an unsettling expression. Moments after the camera captured her, the figure vanished. The guard said he hadn't seen anyone with his own eyes, only on playback. He believed he had recorded a lost soul tied to Seton House's long and troubled past. Silent Helper. A security guard shared a chilling story from a construction site. One night, a worker struggled to move a massive wooden cable reel alone, something that usually required several people.
That he needed help pushing one of these.
As he pushed, a man suddenly appeared and offered to help. The worker didn't think twice. He guided the reel while the man behind him pushed with full strength. But when they reached the spot and he walked around to thank him, no one was there.
He says a guy came up to him, another worker, and he says, "I got you. Back it up, back it up, back it up." And he was pushing it. When they were done, he went around the reel to tell him thank you. He was gone.
Still shaken, he went to the site office and froze at the memorial wall. One photo showed the same man who had helped him, and in the security footage, a second shadow stood beside him, one that didn't match anyone alive. Floating face. A nurse working the night shift captured something she wished she hadn't. After hearing a noise coming from a patient room, she started recording. In the lower corner of the doorway, what looked like a face appeared. Just the face. Then it floated upward, way too fast for any human movement, almost like it wasn't attached to a body at all, just a drifting face. She immediately stopped the recording and rushed out of there before anything else could happen. Fireball head. A routine nighttime patrol turned into a nightmare for a park ranger in the Angeles forest of the San Gabriel Mountains in Southern California. He'd been surveying the area when he heard strange guttural noises and started recording. That's when a glowing fireball came rushing toward him. As it got closer, he realized it wasn't just a light.
Allahu Akbar! Subhanallah!
It was a humanoid creature with a fireball for a head. The sounds it made were unlike anything he'd heard before. When the footage hit the internet, people compared it to Sogenbi, a ghost from Japanese folklore. But what would a Japanese spirit be doing in American mountains? With no follow-up reports, the encounter remained unexplained. Classroom chaos. This eerie clip was filmed by a school security guard in the Philippines. The video showed him cautiously walking around the school grounds at night, clearly on edge. At first, everything seemed quiet, until the classroom chairs began to move. Slowly at first, then more aggressively. Tables and chairs started pushing themselves toward the door, as if something unseen was trying to keep the guard out. The guard's reaction looked completely genuine. His tense posture and panicked expression suggested he wasn't staging it. Netizens were convinced he had stumbled into something truly unexplainable and possibly dangerous. Shed shadow. A farmer in a small South American town called police for help in March 2021 after spotting a strange shadow in his cowshed. He couldn't make sense of it, so officers came to check.
Tem muita coisa estranha acontecendo aqui, cara.
Their body cam footage turned out bizarre. Inside the shed window, a shadowy, inhuman figure appeared, its form barely recognizable. The officers froze for a moment before bolting out of there. I mean, what were they supposed to do with something that didn't fit any reality they knew, let alone any law? The farmer ended up locking the cowshed for good, and to this day, nobody truly knows what they all saw that night.
Meu Deus do céu, cara! Meu Deus, cara!
Silent watchers. It happened in Texas in 2023 when a security guard noticed movement inside a building that had been sealed shut for years. The place was abandoned and locked from all sides. Yet one night, lights flicked on inside. Then a shadow slid across a top-floor window.
The lights are...
At first, he thought it was just a reflection, but when he glanced at another window, two figures stood perfectly still as if watching him. He pulled out his phone to record, but seconds later, both figures vanished. Police checked the building the next morning and found nothing disturbed. The dust inside showed 0 footprints, but the footage told a different story.
The lights are off right now. Oh, it just moved. It just moved. It just moved.
Window spirit. Back in 2024, a security guard in Indonesia was recording a casual video message for his family during a slow night shift at an old hospital, a place everyone whispered about because of its history. When he replayed the video later, he froze. Outside the window behind him, the faint face of an elderly woman was staring in. That window had no balcony or ledge, nothing a person could stand on. Maintenance checked the outside the next morning, and there wasn't a single sign of anyone climbing up. The guard became convinced it wasn't an intruder, but a lingering spirit from someone who once stayed there and never really left. Spellbound frenzy. Back in 2022 in Wisconsin, an Ultimart owner reported a woman acting strangely in his store. By the time officers arrived, she was already screaming and bolting toward the exit. Her movements were frantic, her expression wild. When one officer approached, she yanked her arm out like she was casting some kind of spell, and for a second, he genuinely hesitated. Her screams didn't even sound human anymore. The officer eventually tried to detain her, but she kept making those eerie noises. Some people later said she was faking it, while others insisted something darker had taken over. Maybe even a demon. Winged anomaly. This footage from California, recorded on the dash cam of a law enforcement officer, still gives people chills. A creature shot into view, fast, too fast to make out its face, floating mid-air. At first it looked humanoid, but as it closed in, it seemed like wings just sprouted out of nowhere. It lunged straight at the camera, and the recording cut off instantly. When they reviewed the footage later, nobody could agree on what it was. Some swore it looked angelic, others said it felt more like a cryptic, ghostly figure. Let me know your take on this in the comments. Invisible guest. The night watchman claimed he was helping an elderly woman who asked for directions inside the building. But in the footage, no one else appeared on camera. Minutes passed as he continued speaking to someone invisible, gesturing, nodding, as if deep in conversation. Then came a radio call from his colleague. Whatever was said made him freeze. He immediately hit the elevator button, panicking, but after a beat, bolted toward the stairs instead. Without turning back, he fled the building entirely. No one knows where he went. His co-workers, shaken by the footage, believe he spoke with something not of this world. Night shift. This nurse was used to quiet night shifts until her phone picked up something chilling. A growl, low and close, followed her through empty halls. She didn't hear it live, only later on the recording. Then the elevator opened on its own. Another night, she heard humming, soft, eerie, like a twisted lullaby echoing up the stairwell. That's when she saw it. A 5-pointed star scratched onto a door. Later, her camera caught a dark figure behind a locked door. Whatever's there, it's not just haunting the hospital, it's watching. Crawling figure. In Paraguay, South America, an old abandoned building that once served as a fire station kept getting reports of movement late at night. When officers checked it out, their flashlights caught something crawling along the ground. The second they stepped closer, it slipped out of sight and vanished. It appeared on camera for barely a moment, just a shifting shape, no clear features, nothing they could identify. Whatever it was never showed up again, and with no follow-up sightings or explanations, the whole encounter stayed nothing more than a quiet, lingering mystery. Gym Ghost. A security guard from a school in Texas shared this video on the internet. When he heard strange noises from the basketball court, he decided to check the security camera. And there, he saw a shadowy appearance move across the court. What made the video even creepier was how that shadow took the shape of a humanoid body. The guard even claimed the school was famous for being built on a haunted site, meaning it could be some spirit making its presence known. Roof Watcher. They say schools and hospitals trap all kinds of emotions: fear, pain, regret, and sometimes that energy lingers, pulling in things that don't belong to our world. Maybe this was one of those moments. A security guard was making rounds one night after hearing strange noises. That's when he spotted it. Someone, or something, crouched on the school's roof. It barely stood out, blending right into the night sky. Was it a wandering spirit drawn to the building's history? Or something darker, a creature patiently waiting for its next move? Student Ghost? Late one evening, a security guard was monitoring CCTV footage when he spotted something spine-chilling. When he first took the job, others had warned him that the school was haunted, but he never believed it. That night changed his mind. A misty figure appeared on the screen, faint yet unmistakable, slowly drifting up and down the stairwell. The movement was eerily calm, almost deliberate. Some say a student once met with a tragic incident on those very stairs. Since then, strange sightings have become common. Many now believe that the spirit of the student still lingers, unable to move on. Night shift terror. A man working the night shift as a security guard in a closed building experienced something he would never forget. While making his rounds with a torch, he noticed something strange inside a storage room.
That's the part of security they don't show y'all, man, when the building closed.
A pale face framed by long, dark hair peeking at him from behind a stack of boxes. It lasted only a second before the figure ducked back out of sight. The guard scrambled out of the room, ran from the building, and quit his job that very night. Theories soon flooded in. Some believed he had seen a ghost, while others were convinced he had encountered a shapeshifter.
See that? You heard? I'm already done.
Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.